said, if I'm going to do it, I'm only doing it one way, going back to what you talked about quality. So I said, if I can get the Cinemark at the Pike Theaters there in Long Beach, if I can get the Convention Center, and that year is the Renaissance Hotel, if they all say yes, then that means God is saying yes. They all said yes.
It was beautiful.
So I had to go, but then I had to be like, if I'm gonna, the first year, it was crazy. It was like, I got to put all this stuff out here. I got to market. I got to do everything. I got to make people believe this is what it is.
Right.
People showed up, everything, but I didn't understand all the metrics yet. Thinking ticket sales is gonna be it. Didn't understand all the metrics yet. And man, you want to talk about owing people you know $172,000?
It's scary, yeah.
There's a difference between owing the bank. You can run from the bank. Bank of America don't know me. I go over to Wells. I go over to Chase. I can go, come on, let's be real. You know what I mean? It's just like phones. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll go to T-Mobile. When it's your friends, it is so much more difficult because the pressure. I can't walk away. And I remember how hard it was to make the phone call to each person. Excuse me. I didn't do it. We lost. I don't have your money. And every person, because of the brand, because they care and trust me, said, do what you got to do. In essence, extend my loan, do whatever. Nobody said, screw you, Daniel. Nobody. Just boom, boom. And it took me about 4 years to finally fully pay. I never lost money again, but you got this thing hovering over you. You know what I mean? But it took me like 4 years to finally pay it all back. And I did. But the festival kept going. I didn't let the loss mess up the festival.
Before we start, big shout out to our sponsors, Foreign Attitude. If it ain't foreign, it's boring. So if you want to clothe the line that you feel good in, you look good in, come shop with us. ForeignAttitude.com. We're not defined by society standards. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode at Expert at Failing. I'm your host, Sir Wormley. Before we start, I'm going to need y'all to like, subscribe, and hit that bell because somebody out there is looking for this tribe. And with that, y'all liking and subscribing, it helps the algorithm to spread it out and reach out to them. Feel me? But today, we got a special guest, man. I'm excited. It's a few people who I look up to. And you know, an expert at failing, I like to grab interesting people who done interesting things, who's been somewhere to teach y'all how to avoid some pitfalls. You feel me? Today, we have a great man, a historian, a social entrepreneur, a big dog when it comes to this public speaking. You feel me? He controlled the narrative. He controlled the room. Like I've seen him control the room, and I admired it from the side. We have no other than hold on. We got Mr. Film Festival, because this is how I met him, at the film festival. You feel me? We out here.
Yes.
But it's no other than Dr. Daniel E. Walker, man.
Hey, man, sir, I'm pleased, honored, and everything to be here, bro. It's like, I always see you do your thing. I always see you get it in. I always see you consistent.
Right.
And so when you hit me up and you're like, can you come on? Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
it's such an honor because, like I said, it's not many people I look up to. And for you, just how you say, I'm consistent, you are on it and making your way, and you've been to places that I want to go. Like, I feel like you have so much wisdom. And in my journey as of late, having a mentor is one of the biggest things. It's like the biggest time jump. Like, you just travel through time because that mentor is going to close that gap for you. So you being on here, you coming today is like, you made my day, man. You made my day.
Let your listeners understand. All right. So first time I met Sir, first off, I was like, your name is Sir? Right? And the brother was like, yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I know some guy's named Sir. I can roll with that, right? The brother comes in with everything. And when I say everything, I mean fashion. I mean board games. I mean optimism. I mean the way in which he carries himself, presents himself. I remember when you came, we had to meet up somewhere. I don't know what it was, and you met me with your daughter.
Okay, yeah.
And and I saw the love that you have. You know what I mean? And I saw everything that you were doing. And I was just like, wherever this brother's going, I want to be down. So when you talk about me, you looking up to me, I look up to you and I'm like, dude, you aren't doing enough, Daniel. You know, I've been some other place. I got some years on you, all the rest of the stuff. But when I look at how you leverage and parlay your resources, you know, you the type of brother, if you got $1,000, you're going to turn that 1,000 into 10,000. Meaning you're going to do something that somebody with 10,000 thought they couldn't do, but you did it.
Right.
The board games, the clothing line, the films, the book. You know how many people sit there and say, I want to write a book. I want to create a children's book. And you was like, no, man, I'm creating this book, you know, Finding My Pretty, right?
Right.
You know, and this little girl is trying to find, she's looking all over the place to find her pretty, but at the same time, you're using prepositional phrases. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? And then you told me, I found the artist on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I never met him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm telling people, I say, man, you don't understand. You sitting up here thinking that all these things have to happen for you to publish. I know this brother. Back then, you was working at a warehouse.
Right.
I know this brother working at a warehouse trying to take care of his daughter who done went out there and published a book and it's beautiful. And you get me?
Right.
And the same with the board games. You know, people talk about, I wish. You don't say I wish. I remember you hit me up one time. I'm doing a board game and he's gas. You know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. You making it happen. I'm being real with you, man. I'm not just blowing smoke. You inspire me in the sense that you take whatever you got. The fact that we're right here right now. And the reason I even said something about this, because, and I wanted you to see if you heard what I posted today. So I'm creating an arts-centered incubator, business incubator in Atlanta, Georgia. And part of it will be, you know, spaces and places for people. So when I'm coming in here and I'm watching what you got with the podcast and how it's all set up, bro, right here, for those of you guys that don't see, it's a whole, I'm like, okay, this is God just showing me once again, it's possible, it can be done. And then also connecting me with somebody who then I can call up your manager and say, hey, you're doing it.
Right.
I want to know how this is done. Can you maybe consult with me and set up this? So you get where I'm coming from?
Right.
But you're always pushing. You're always doing that. I was telling, you know, last time I saw you, I'm up there kayaking. I'm kayaking, all right, in Long Beach. And you're on the basketball court doing a fashion shoot with folk in your stuff. They were wearing red, the sweatsuit.
Right.
Come on.
I love it, man.
Right? Let's be real. So game respects game.
Facts.
So there's things that I can learn from you. But, bruh, don't act like there aren't. There's things you can learn from me. But please understand I learn from you, too. For people in my generation, we miss a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
We just do. We don't know it. You know, we're grown. And so the only way we get there to understanding and knowledge about everything from apps, from all this, is from people of another generation. You know what I mean? We have to accept that we don't know crap about that. And it's only through y'all. And I love your I'm sorry. I know I'm talking, but I'm giving it to you because you're always pushing.
I'm here for
You know what I mean? In a cool way. You're not a person who is, you know, some people are hard sell. They own you all the time. You don't even want to talk to them, right? You're like, man, here they come. That's not you.
Right.
But you're always, and you're using that internet and that social media in a way to find vendors, to find suppliers, to globally see yourself all over the world. So, you know, there's some things I'm doing right now about bringing capital to people like you.
Right.
And you're going to be one of the first persons that I make sure that happens to. So you see what I'm saying?
Hey, you know, it's crazy because how you say I'm leveraging things and my resources. My biggest thing right now is first adding value. Like if I want something from somebody, let me see how I could be an asset to them first.
Yes.
Right. But then leveraging relationships. That is so big to me. And I know you could talk about it because how you touch people, you in certain rooms. How important is gaining relationships and leveraging relationships?
So I want to say this. So I remember a few years ago, I was down on myself because I was looking at my financials.
Okay.
And at a certain age, I was asking myself the question, why haven't you saved more? Why don't you have more assets? Why haven't you given this to your children? You get where I'm coming from, all that stuff. I was messing, and I was jacking myself up about it. You know what I mean? Man, you do all this stuff and you have. And then God came to me with a word and he said, generational wealth is not just money, it's also game. You get me? It's also game.
You could pass that down.
Yeah, because money can come and go, but game. Then I started to ask myself, had I imparted game to somebody, right? So when you talked about leveraging your resources, that's game. You know, I've been blessed by God to walk in and be in certain circles that many people who look like me don't get to go in.
Right.
Being totally real. just not. And I feel a responsibility when I'm in those spaces to be able to be a bridge between those spaces and other folk. So that's about my resources. So if I can just facilitate somebody else being able to either learn something that they need to learn and it happen
Right,
faster,
right.
that's a resource thing, that's game. Or the other part, which is if I can connect you, if I can just go, you two need to meet. And when you talk about value added, it's not anything for me.
Right.
I just think you're a great person and this person need to meet, and then it'll happen. Everything else is gonna happen for me. But the notion of leveraging my resources, allowing my resources to be available to other people, because that's the other thing. You have a social circle, right?
Right, right.
And the real question is social capital. When do you want to expend it? How do you want to expend it, right? You know, people hit me up and they say, you know, can you amplify this on your social media? I can't, because it's not necessarily in my brand right now. It's not.
That is so big.
It's not in my brand. And I'm about what I'm about. And
Right.
people have credibility. And I don't want to use up my social capital. You know, if I'm every day throwing something, that doesn't work.
Right.
So that ability about trying to figure out how you leverage and how you expend your social capital is also about your resources. Because you can't give all your resources to everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And you have to be kind of strategic, and the Bible talks about discerning about those things, right? But you have to do it. I'm right now, me and my sister, you know, my sister
Right,
Dina, my
right,
sister Dina
right.
Walker. So I
Shout
don't know
out
if
to
you know,
Dee.
we just got $5 million.
I just saw that. I
Yeah,
just saw that.
a few weeks ago. All right, so we got $5 million from the state of California to continue the work that we were doing around youth, around arts, media, and entertainment, all that kind of stuff. In the midst of all that, we just talked this morning, and Dina said, I just feel so bad right now. I said, what? She just got back from Ghana. She
Okay.
said, because I haven't used it. I have not leveraged all my resources. I've been lagging. Everybody else from the outside world looks and goes, oh, you just got 5 minutes. We didn't even blink about it.
Right.
So that shows how much we've changed. You get where I'm coming
Right.
from?
Right.
But then to know that you have it and to be able to speak about it and to be able to let other people know how that happens, right? All those are pieces about capital, money, but also social capital,
Right.
but also about resources. They're all in the same boat. You got to be able to, just like real money, you got to be able to save some, conserve some, use some. My sister always says, in for a penny, in for a pound. You know what I mean? I know when you went in on some of these things, you're like, look, I got to go in. I need $1,300. I got 9.
Right.
I'm
right.
saying yes. I'm going to figure out the 4. Right? And so even in that, you're figuring out who you're going to get, what investor you're going to use. Everything's the same. The game is always the same. It's just the zeros are different. It's exactly the same. You could take as much effort to get $1,000 as it is to get $1 million. It's just about, do you have access to people with $1 million?
It's crazy because I hear that it's the same effort. It's the same effort. Even with short films, there was like, I remember somebody told me, why do a short film when you could do a feature film? It's the same effort. It's the same effort.
Yeah, yeah. It's you know, when people talk about, they call them soft skills, you know, these things that you can transfer. And I keep going back to it. I always say, when I talked about tens, I dealt in tens. When I talked about thousands, I dealt in the thousands. When I started talking about 10,000, I dealt in 10,000. So you have to actually claim that yourself.
Right, right,
You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
And when you begin to start speaking that, one a big deal for me was pricing. You know, I mean, you got to figure out how much you price. And for
Right.
speaking, you know,
Big dog.
there's
Big
a whole
dog.
there's a whole bunch of people in that game, right? And that can go to Obama getting $1 million per. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But there's a sweet spot in between about $5,000 and $20,000, right? And I remember when I raised my fee to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 figures.
Right.
And I remember the thing was, I was like, oh my God, you know, this is what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Nobody blinked. Nobody blinked. Nobody blinked. I've had no one person tell me I can't do that.
Why is that our problem? Because a lot of times we would lowball ourselves. We would undervalue ourselves because we thinking that they don't see the value in us.
Man, if I had my phone right now, so I just hit up this young brother about doing a flyer for me. I just want to do a little post about some place I'm speaking at on this Thursday.
Right.
Just a little boom, 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 a little something different than what I normally do, right? So he hits me up and he says, oh, that'll be $200, right? Now I was thinking about playing because I can go on Fiverr or something like that, get 5, 25 or whatever else. And I said, no, I'm going to go on something else. I said, but don't you change your price.
Right, right,
I said, because you're dealing in a different world. You see what I mean?
right.
You know, I don't want you to change your price. Keep it. I got another project for you. This dude did a crazy deck for me for this one TV show, all
Okay.
the things, everything else. I was like, I got stuff for you because you have value. And something like this, I don't want to cheapen you by telling you to less for
Right,
that. I'll do
right.
something else. Keep your price where it is. I remember when I used to be speaking everywhere for like $250. Man, I used to be running.
What?
Oh, I would be running around California, 250, 500, 1,000, you know what I mean? Running around like crazy. I get to these functions, and these people paying everybody else more than they paying me. But
Right.
I'm the keynote. I'm the one moving the crowd. And then I just started realizing. And remember when I posted that thing, Bet on Black?
Right, right.
That was the first thing. I was like, I'm gonna save $5,000 a pop. That was like 4 years ago. Nobody blinked. Nobody blinked. There are people who said, I can't do that, but they wasn't gonna do 500. You get what I'm saying? That was a whole different game. They weren't in that.
Exactly.
And when I just said, okay, who are the people? Institutions? Who are the people? Colleges and universities? Who are the people? Corporations? Who are the people? Now I got a separate thing for folk who call me up and say, hey, Daniel, can I do? But I always tell them what the real price is.
Right, right.
They say, what? That's how much. Who, you getting that now? Yeah, I'll work it out with you.
Right,
Because
right.
I'm still a social entrepreneur. I want to make things happen. I didn't charge you to come here or whatever else. But I want people to know what it is. So if someone else asks them, you tell them that price.
Right, right.
You let them know what a standard is for what you get. And realize that there's other people getting way more. Sometimes, man, these contractors would tell me something like, oh, we don't have that money. I say, no, you don't have that money from me. You have that money. You just don't have it from me. You speak, you pay people to speak all the time.
Right.
I know their rates. You're just choosing not to pay that for me. Peace. Because this is my value.
Right.
You get me?
We're not lowering it.
You're not lowering it.
We not.
Your book, you don't lower it. It's a great book, you know? No, okay, if you was out here charging for a 10-page book, you would charge $18,000, I might say, sir, might want to check on that.
Right,
You're trying to get, that's a whole kid's college tuition, and you're trying to get it for one book. But you're in a realm of what books cost, and it's
Right.
a beautiful book. There's a price-quality ratio that people talk about, a relationship that economics talk about, that people believe that if something's a certain price, it has a certain quality.
Right.
If you say you're the cheapest in the marketplace, you lost more than you won. Who wants to be the cheapest?
And that's it, like me with my clothing line. That, like, you know, urban communities, if the price is high, that's the value that you want it. It could be the same quality, the same shirt, the same manufacturer, but as soon as that price tag go on it, it's a different brand.
You put $10 on it, they're gonna treat you like you a $10
Exactly.
t-shirt salesman. You put $35, $50 on it, all of a sudden people talking to you different because they see that you're in it to make money and be a business that will be successful.
Right.
Because when you're trying to just get the lowest to get somebody, it's hard. Unless you got economies of scale like Walmart,
Exactly.
it's hard to do. So which one better? To be the cheapest, people walking past you, or to say there's a price quality ratio here? When you get something from me, I know your stuff, man. It's always good. It's not going to tear up in the washing machine. It's not going to do this. It's not. All that is about, and what does that do? Then it builds a brand. And then
Right.
people say it's always good. I'll give you a quick one. I was walking in, I was in Vegas a few weeks ago, and I was walking in like the Wynn or something, and they have the part, the mall where they have all the
Right,
shops,
right,
and you see
right.
Salvador Ferragamo, and you see Fendi, and I said, why isn't there any African American in this, in this world that we consider to be high fashion?
Right,
and,
right.
Fendi bags, Gucci, as much as we buy them, right? As much as we buy them. Nothing against that. But it was like, it's because we haven't monetized and valued African American creators in the same way. So, or Latino creators in the same way. So if I don't charge $400 for this bag and I only charge you $60, you first off buy it and think it's cheap.
Right.
If I charge $400, you tell me it's too much.
And you go try to barter with me.
But I got to stick with that because the goal has to be that I'm going to be on the same platform is Fendi, is Gucci, is Ferragamo, is whatever
Right.
else. And I saw a purse inside of like one of these shops, a Fendi. All it was, sir, was a piece of plastic. I'm not lying to you, brother. It was a piece of plastic. It was like a clear little click. That's all it was. It was just a piece of plastic. I know if you melt down that plastic, it did not cost more than $1. I'm telling you, it was just it was only this big. It was $1,800. That's all because somebody values the brand.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do. That same purse with a little bit is at Walmart for $3. With just a little bit of other, I'm telling you this purse, but it was $1,800. Why? Because there was a long-standing trust in quality and a belief that when people saw that and you said the name,
Right.
people would associate something with it. So if you say, oh, it's an $1,800 plastic plastic pocketbook is nothing. But if you
Right.
say that's a Ferragamo or a Fendi or whatever else, now you on at it. Why not for your stuff? Why not for
And that's so
why not for your
big.
creations?
I had to learn that myself, and I had to stand on it
Mhm.
because a lot of people will be, oh man, give me the homie deal. Give me no, you don't go to Nike and say that. You don't go to these other stores and say that. So stop playing with me.
It don't even. There's no barter part in Nike
Exactly.
at the Nike store. You go over in there, they be like, "Hey, I'll take 2 for 1." You know what I mean? So we have to set that standard. So part of our thing is to be able to make sure that we do. I love everything in you. Quality, 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 quality. If you put out quality, sooner or later, it's gonna come back your side. It
Right.
just is because somebody's gonna pick up the game out of nowhere. Somebody's gonna pick up the shirt out of nowhere. Somebody's gonna say, "Who's this? Where is this?" The great thing about you is you got a second act.
Mm.
You know, some people, man, they come out there, they got a shirt. You don't got even another design. You get me? Dude, when somebody meets you, you are an entrepreneur. They're like, okay, and you say, hey, here, hey, here. And everything is quality. All you need is opportunity and money. The product and the hard work you already brought to it.
Right.
All you need is opportunity, Walmart. All you need is opportunity and some money. Can I scale this up? Can I make
Right.
50,000 of them instead of 25,000 or 25 of
Because
them? Am I right?
Yeah, and bulk is way cheaper, so your profit margin is higher.
So the
yeah.
ability to get people like you capital is the key because you got the prototype, the beta is done.
Right.
It's just that and opening doors. So on the 27th of this month, in this kind of corporate thing or whatever else, with the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion for Walmart International. So we're on the same thing. What I'm saying is the ability to start having conversations, just as a value-added conversation with homeboy. I'm not gonna be all, hey, I got somebody.
Right.
Just continuing to build a relationship. Maybe it's 8 months down the line. We've done some other things. He's
Right.
been able to work. And now I say, okay, when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion at Walmart, that should also be diversity, equity, inclusion of vendors and people who are saying stuff and the people you're getting the products from.
Right.
You get me? Not just who comes in, not just who's in the register, not just that stuff, but do you also have people of color as the product services? I mean, the people who
Right.
create. Are you providing shelf space for those things? Right? So then to come in 8, 9 months later, just talking, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And saying, hey, board game, whatever else, boom, got one for you. They can look at the beta. It's all together. All you need is money and opportunity, distribution. Put some more money into it and make sure it's at every single Walmart
Right.
in America.
Right.
Right? But the product, I don't have to worry about that with you because that's how your quality always is. You're very different than a lot of people. Some people want to just try to get over with the cheapest, wackest little thing that they can, and they don't realize when that person goes home and it falls apart.
It's crazy because they had a post, right? And it's talked about, it say, hey man, give other men business advice, right? And I posted on there, I say, don't be cheap. Give your customer an experience because they're going to remember that experience forever. When they compare it to something else, it's like, I didn't feel what I felt when I opened this bag right here, when I opened, unraveled this game right here. Like, so that was one thing I had to learn from packaging to product. Do not be cheap because it's all an investment. It's go come back.
It's all
It's,
investment.
it's go come back.
And people, once again, your name is the only thing you got, right? Your brand, your name, you are the brand. My girlfriend always tells me, Daniel, you are the brand. You are the brand. So you can't have somebody have some toe up game because then that's you.
Right.
Right? And then if you want somebody walk down the street, see, hey man, I bought that.
Yeah. This,
Ain't you the dude I bought that game from at that? Right? That's not what you want. So the ability to take the time to do the research and development and to source from wherever you have to, which you have done all over the world, to get the things at the level that you can get them. And then it requires someone else going back to resources and everything else
Right.
and opportunities to open a door for you. That's all it is.
Right.
So people like me have to do that.
This is a good segue, right? Because we're in the age of social media. A lot of people they're scared to speak, but they have online brands, so they have to. This is marketing. Like social media is your market. If you don't show up every day, you're gonna miss the opportunity because somebody else is showing up, and their product could be as half as good, but since they're showing up, they're gonna beat you to the punch because they're gonna be fresh on the consumer's mind. So how important it is, because a lot of people are introverts and timid and scared of the mic, but how important, how life-changing it is for you to learn to speak and get comfortable with it.
man. So they say that two of the greatest fears that people have, one is public speaking, the other is drowning or dying in a fire.
Mm.
And you think that's crazy. That
The
you would,
extreme.
yeah,
of it.
yeah, you know what I mean? Drowning, yeah, it's
yeah.
like public speaking. So number one is to acknowledge that the fear is there for everybody.
Right.
You know, I always tell people this. You have to learn how to act. You're like, what do you mean? So I deal with this with teachers sometimes. They say, how do I become a great teacher like you, Dr. Walker? But you have it. I say, do you think that this is how I walk around the house? My girl will be like, what are you doing? You know, my kids will be like crazy. Do I walk around the house? And then 14, 30 seconds, no. When it says time, I come on.
Right.
And so I tell people doing things like taking a public speaking class, taking an improv class, taking a acting class. I know you might think this has nothing to do with marketing. Yes, it does. Because your ability to stand flat-footed and to talk in front of people is the key to you being able to sell your product. Now, of course, you can say, well, I could just create these ads and I could, of course you can. There's people who do it.
Right.
But for most of us who are trying to go from to something,
Right.
you don't have all those resources. So you got to be able to push yourself into something else that you may not be. I have this really good friend, I won't mention her name, but she has this whole online, it's not fake. I'm not saying it's fake. It's just she's not that gregarious.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right,
But it's not
right.
fake because on there, she's trying to reach an audience. So she has to become another person. So number one, acknowledge that you got the fear. Number two, train yourself.
Right.
Train yourself. And number three, remember that it's all in your own best interest. Like if you can talk about your product, if you can talk about your service, if you can talk about yourself, if you can advocate for your child, it works in every single realm. So acknowledge it does. I'm messed up. It's fear. Get some help, work out some stuff, and then do it, because you got to practice it.
And
It has everything to do with your entire, sir, you're the type of person, you don't have you don't walk in a room like, hey, I'm sorry, that's not you. It's not
Right,
you. It's not you.
right.
You walk in a room like, checking things out, looking around, and then as you start to find your way. But if somebody starts to ask you something, you're going to boom, right in, and you're not going to miss the opportunity.
And I tell people that I say I'm very aloof, but as soon as somebody starts talking to me, I hold a conversation well, and I gravitate towards that because I love to speak of something of interest and substance, right? But if you got a game night to attend and you want to be the one that turn it up, grab 3 Shots You're Out at 3shotsyourout.com. Last one with a shot wins. It's litty, it's engaging, and it gets you shit-faced if you lose. Grab it at 3shotsyourout.com. Back to you, it's like I tell people all the time, stories sell. Like, so if you don't know how to talk, or if you're not comfortable and you're not trying to push yourself to talk, they're buying into you, not the product.
They say that 95% of money invested in venture capital has nothing to do with the financials that they turn in. It's all about investment in the person.
And I've been on that wave, so I know and I hear that. They be like, at the meetings, it's like, do you got skin in the game? How invested are you, like, mentally in your work ethic, like your spirit, like everything? It's the person. So for somebody to be like, we all champion underdogs. So when you tell us your story on where this came from, why you made this, blase, it's like, I want to be a part of that. I resonate with that. I want to see them win.
Listen, I always tell people, somebody told me years ago, that which is the most personal is the most universal. That which is the most personal is the most universal. Even when I'm speaking, sometimes people are like, well, why do you tell about your story? Why do you? Because that which is the most personal is the most universal. You know what I mean? So if I understand money not being there, if I understand the struggles of trying to make a business, if I understand, and I talk about it openly, difference. Somebody else, you told me when we came in here, you said, we're going to talk about some things. I created this podcast because it's something that I've already been through, or my guest has been through, that somebody listening to it needs to hear. And that's why, right?
Right.
So when you go back and you start thinking about all this stuff together and you put it all as like a system, right? And you realize you're speaking for yourself, standing up, you're marketing your own product, you're making sure that all these things make people believe you're a winner. Everybody wants to be with a winner. Everybody. I'm sorry, but everybody wants to be a winner. And I think you talk about storytelling.
Right.
If you came up with a product or service there has to be something that made you do it.
Right.
And if you just say, because I wanted to make money,
You ain't going far.
that's not it.
It ain't-
But if you say, I was trying to make this in the kitchen, This didn't happen, so I created this. Right there, somebody goes, I was in that same place. That which is the most personal, the most universal, right?
Right,
You know what I mean? I had a friend, I saw him yesterday. I know he's going, if he's watching this, he's going to laugh. But I see him walking out of the hotel, and I'm like, hey, man, what's the coincidence that I see you and in this hotel, all of the world, we walking out. 2 minutes later, and he said, I'm going here to take a dump. I said, what? And he was like, man, when nobody lets you in to use the bathroom, you don't want to go into whatever else. He's like, I just go into a hotel because they're going to have a nice thing or whatever. But he said it, and it might sound crazy, but that which is the most personal is the most universal. How many of us have not been there?
Right.
When you up here like, I got to use it, and I'm looking around going, I'm not going over to 7-Eleven. They ain't going to let me in over here. The bathroom over here look like it's shot up, right? But if you start telling that story, people understand because they are all there. And then if you say, I develop an app that finds good bathrooms. You know what I mean? Everybody's looking for where's the next bathroom, right? I got to use one. Right. Nobody wants to let you in unless you're a paying customer, right? And what if but that comes out of a lived experience, right? With economic development and entrepreneurship and generational wealth, it comes out of a real experience. Right. I know it. You go from the same that I do. Broke, and I broke because of some decision I made, broke because my family was poor. You know what I mean? Just the way it was. Right. You know what I mean? I always tell people, sometimes I used to have trouble, and I'm getting better at it, of going from, so I'm real good at going from nothing to something. And I'm getting better at going from something to something great. Right. You get me? Because I came from nothing, I can create something out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like you can, next thing you got a whole game going. You know, right. And it's almost like you're really good at that thing because that's what you know. The next part is the growth piece, right? It's like, how do you get it not just from here, but how do you begin to develop the systems that allow you to be able to thrive? So one of the biggest things I had to do in the last year was hire people. And I wasn't hiring nobody because here goes the fear. What if I can't pay them? What if something happens? But your business is not going to expand. Exactly. I'm only one person. I'm still teaching a regular job. You know what I mean? How is that going to happen when somebody else is putting 80 hours every week into it and hiring folk? And I remember it was like a year and a half ago. And I was like, can I hire this person? I haven't missed a payment yet. You know what I mean? Blessings. I got 3 other people work for me. Now I got somebody who's in charge of my scheduling. Now I got somebody who's in charge of these institutes I do. Now I got somebody who's in charge of my film and television. Now I got people. And now I can exponentially grow because I'm not spending time with skill sets that aren't the best utilization of my time. Right. It's not the best utilization of my time to be on there for 3 hours trying to create social media at this stage in my life. I need to hire somebody to do that.
And that is big because one, especially as entrepreneurs, we fear so much like, dang, if I spend this money on them, I'm not going to make. But if you keep your fist closed, you're not going to be allowed to grab more money. You going to be clenching on that little money you have.
Scared money don't make no money.
No, make no money. That's the philosophy we ought to. I'm a betting man, and I risk it for it.
Yeah, and I figure this. I go to Vegas. I bet in Vegas once, $20 on a baseball game. That's it. I bet on me. Right. You know what I mean? I have more confidence. I know the variables for me. I know the variables for you. I give money to you because I know who you are. Vegas, the game is set up for me to lose.
The house gonna win.
The house gonna win. That's the way it's set up. That's the only way it works. How I get these free drinks? How I get these cheap buffets? Because they taking it from me every day, right? I'm getting a $14 meal for $7 and I'm all happy. They just took $1,300 of my dollars. Right? So, but I can bet on myself with no question. With no question. I will bet on myself 1,000,000 times because I know the variables. I know what kind of game I got. You know? Right. So remember I met you through the film festival. Mm-hmm. And I know you want me to talk. So I run the Long Beach Indie International Film and Entertainment Festival. Boom. It's like 2014. Hey, 2014 was the first year. Downtown Long Beach, Cinemark at the Pike Theaters, Convention Center, Renaissance Hotel, folk coming through, news, everything. And I lost $172,000.
Hey, this is an expert at felon. Watch this bounce back.
$172,000. Now, somebody might be saying, how'd you have $172,000? I'm not lying to you. You know when they talk about in the early stages of business development, they say friends and family? Mm-hmm. So I raised $180,000, $190,000 from friends in about 2 weeks. What I did was remember I said, if you're talking dollars, you're talking dollars. You're talking
Right,
tens, you're talking
right.
tens. So when I'm younger, I'm talking tens with people. So if I need to raise $150, 15 people, where's an investment, right?
Right.
Sooner or later, I get to where the friend group, the resources, 1,000 doesn't bother them. You get me? A little bit later in life, friend group, 10,000 doesn't bother them.
Right.
So 12 or 13 calls, all in there, all on trust. I gave them all a deal. It was crazy. I was going to give them 25% return because I just had to do it. You know what I mean? I had to get this money. And I knew when I put this film festival out there, I looked around and saw all the rest of the big film festivals and stuff.
Right.
I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm only doing it one way, going back to what you talked about quality. So I said, if I can get the Cinemark at the Pike Theaters there in Long Beach, if I can get the Convention Center, and that year is the Renaissance Hotel, if they all say yes, then that means God is saying yes. They all said yes.
It was beautiful.
So I had to go, but then I had to be like, if I'm gonna, the first year, it was crazy. It was like, I got to put all this stuff out here. I got to market. I got to do everything. I got to make people believe this is what it is.
Right.
People showed up, everything, but I didn't understand all the metrics yet. Thinking ticket sales is going to be it. Didn't understand all the metrics yet. And man, you want to talk about owing people you know $172,000?
It's scary, huh?
There's a difference between owing the bank. You can run from the bank. Bank of America don't know me. I go over to Wells. I go over to Chase. I can go, come on, let's be real. You know what I mean? It's just like phones. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll go to T-Mobile. When it's your friends, it is so much more difficult because the pressure. I can't walk away. And I remember how hard it was to make the phone call to each person. Excuse me. I didn't do it. We lost. I don't have your money. And every person, because of the brand, because they care and trust me, said, do what you got to do. In essence, extend my loan, do whatever. Nobody said, screw you, Daniel. Nobody. Just boom, boom. And it took me about 4 years to finally fully pay. I never lost money again, but you got this thing hovering over you. You know what I mean? But it took me like 4 years to finally pay it all back. And I did. But the festival kept going. I didn't let the loss mess up the festival. I remember I was sitting there one night and I was just like, I done messed myself up. I'm in this big hole. You know what I mean? Man,
Right.
there's times you put yourself in a hole, and this one was a big hole, the biggest hole I've been in. And I can't sleep at night. You know what I mean?
It's
I
pressure.
don't know how I'm going to do this. Should I leave? I mean, I can run. And I remember my mother, I went and had my mother rest her soul. She passed away 3 years ago. I went to talk to my mother, and my mother said, I wasn't even talking to her about the festival. She said, you know that festival thing you do? That's a good thing. She was like, and she just started laying out. She's like, if you could get some more of this, and if you could maybe use this for a nonprofit and do this. My mother just started laying some stuff out for me. She gave me the game plan. Remember I told you it's not about wealth, it's about game?
Right.
And I went back now because I had the support of my mama. Not that she had been there and everything else, but she was like,
an extra battery in your back.
Man, I said, I'm never gonna. And then now look at it. People like you. Yesterday or day before yesterday, I was in Whole Foods. I'm walking through. I see somebody. I was like, I think I know that person, right? Next thing I look, her name was Irene. She had the first year of the festival. I used to have people go to different film festivals, and they would be like reporters for me, and they'd be like interviewing somebody at the LA Film Festival, but on behalf of. So she used to do that for me, right?
Oh wow.
And so I hadn't seen her in like 8 years, right? And so next thing you know, I said, Irene, is that you? She's like, oh my God, right? She goes, all stuff. And then she was like, Dr. Walker, no, all those clips that I did for you, go on my LinkedIn page right now. I go on her LinkedIn page. They're all the first thing. She said they've opened up so many opportunities and jobs and everything else for me because I was able to show them what I could do on camera.
Wow.
So many other people. So I realized I couldn't stop. You get where I'm coming from? I'm talking about this, but I couldn't stop.
Let me tell y'all something. One, you haven't failed if you don't quit. As long as you stay in the game, it is not a failure. You haven't lost. Two, for the second one, it's a thing about perseverance. Like, all right, so dang, I almost lost my train of thought right now.
Well, good, because
Two.
I'm at least glad young people do that too. I think it's just old people.
But it's crazy, right? Because you were just talking about I want to say, dang, it's crazy. I want to say something about the always you never fail. But the two was so profound for me too. And it's crazy. I just lost it.
Yeah,
right
we
there.
about Long Beach, Indy, about whatever, about what you got, man? Come on, come on. Whoa!
It was-
I'm telling you, boy,
listen.
they call it the senior moment, but I guess it's a junior moment too.
Hey,
Oh, look at him, look at
It
him.
was so profound. It was crazy. That's why I had
Oh, yeah.
stopped you. But I love it right here, right? Because this is the expert at failing right now. We could do this. You feel me? And bounce
Yes.
right back.
Yes.
We could bounce right back.
But-
and it's on the tip of my tongue.
But
keep
listen, man,
going.
you know the big thing is, so how you experienced me, you experienced because you seen the festival a year later, but it was bomb every. Because I always said, going back to what it was always about quality. I wasn't gonna have it in some raggedy theater.
And I've met people there. Jalen, he's about to be on
Yes,
that.
yes.
We've been trying to get him, but our schedule's been conflicted, so he gonna be probably right after you. I've met people had long-term relationships. I met actors from there to be in my stuff.
Yes.
It's just crazy. But I also want to talk. I don't even know if this might have been two, but telling them because the theme of the show is the man who has the power, who has the mic in his hand, right? How did you get out of this situation? How did you pay him back? Because remember you said somebody told you and it clicked like, oh, this is how I'm about to get more revenue to pay them back.
First ad is pride. All right. So, first you got to deal with your pride, right? So you don't want to acknowledge and you don't want to deal with nothing. So first you got to deal with pride, right? You got to be able to, suck it up and understand that people in business understand laws.
Mm.
You get me? So I figured out something years ago, and it showed me in the case of the film festival, but it had been a thing before. I never seek investment from people who can't invest. From people who are going to say, this is my last. From people who are like, if I don't buy. No, people have to be in the investment
Right,
thing.
right.
And I'm talking to anybody who's listening. You can be an investor at $10. You know what I mean? Into somebody, right? Or $20 or $50. You know, on each stage, somebody that lemonade stand, that $20 is gonna help that thing. But I had to start realizing that I only go to people who are in a position to invest because they understand investment and loss.
Right.
Don't go to your grandmama who don't that
We always say that, like, don't lend out no money you can't lose.
Exactly, as you can't lose. So going to people like that who then understood seeding into something, that it was going to take time for something to happen. So when I said about me having to be humble and having to, because I had to listen to them as advisors to me about what to do about the money. The people who I owed helped me.
Right.
Told me what I could do, told me different ways, you know what I mean? And that was important because, so like, sometimes we all think that everybody is out to get us or that everybody's out to see us fail.
Right.
But the reality is investors, real investors are out to see you win. We're not alone. I don't need, a principal back every, a payment back every month. That's not what I'm doing. I'm hoping you grow because I now own a percentage of the growth.
Right.
So that's where I had to change my mindset and realize that there were people in investment who understood that. And I had to change my mindset about how I approach things. Like I would never give a 25% over 3 months return ever again. But I'm thinking it's like selling yourself short. I'm thinking I got to get this high interest rate to get people to come in. Didn't realize I could have probably spread that out over 2 years and told them 12% or 9% or 8% at the time because it would still beat the market.
Right.
You get me? But I wasn't thinking of myself as a person in the market. You've been working a lot in investment and stuff like that. I was just thinking of myself as a peripheral dude who watches the market. I had to understand there's a difference.
Right. Right.
So that was an education for me. The humility to listen, to have somebody talk to you about what you should do, how you should do. Daniel, when you first came to me, I thought this was, pretty, you came back, this other deal I had done and it made it. But in the future, and so I started thinking about like spreading out your debt.
Right.
I started thinking about managing debt. Remember, we just talked about this. So there's a certain group of people in this country and around the world who have mastered the game of other people's money. OPM. Everything in the stock market is OPM. You and I have money and we decide to give it to another person, hoping that they will invest it or something and make more money than we could on our own. That's all it is. And that person gets a fee, that broker, getting that fee, right? So the big picture is really not just about the small stuff, right? It's about looking at the bigger piece. Where is our money? Where does it go? How is it spent? How can we marshal it better? All those different things are about learning about money, learning about investment, learning about how the markets really work, learning about things like futures and stops and
Right.
all these things,
Right.
hedging the bet, all these things. Lately, I've been infinitely more into the markets because I've transitioned into this position where I'm working with a company called Portfolio Summits, where I am literally advising CIOs. CIO stands for Chief Investment Officer of major pension funds, foundations, and university endowments about where to invest their money.
Okay.
One, to invest it in people, to use the managers of their money to be people of color, because they actually have a greater return than,
Right.
than the other one does. It actually is proven over and over every year. These African American Latino fund managers actually get a better return than the others. So then you ask these corporations, or these entities, well, why aren't you putting your money there? Because racism, right? You
Right.
got to be real.
Right.
But how do we get past that? How do we move past it? And then how do we now start to create, they're called private equity funds. Private equity funds invest in things. They invest in shopping centers. They're called REITs, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. All the money you pay goes in this thing, and there's this REIT, and it builds Camden. Camden is a REIT. Okay, it's all funded by pension fund monies. Okay, so Camden and Long Beach, Camden and whatever else, all around, they're all the same thing. It's all funded by pension fund monies.
Okay.
So they go in and so understanding all these things, which is all just other people's money. Somebody's giving some money for somebody to beat the market. It's called beating alpha, finding alpha, beating the market. We can do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so understanding that, then applying those principles to small and medium-sized business. Stop fretting about debt. Debt is a tool used by, and I don't mean debt like I got a whole bunch of stuff at Nordstrom's. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about your business. I'm talking about a business loan that you took or an investment to grow your business. It is good to take on that debt because you need to grow.
Apple, the company, has trillions in debt, and they have trillions in cash, and that's why they one of the lead marketers. Because when a recession hits, they still got cash flow to do their thing.
And
so
they don't have to,
it's
and
good
they
debt.
risk someone else's money, not
Yeah,
theirs.
it's good debt.
That's
It's
crazy,
good
right?
debt out there. It's
But
definitely good
you
debt
start
out
realizing, so I don't mean it in terms of, anybody listen to me. Please don't think I'm telling you, go out and get a whole bunch of cars. Go out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you're in business, you need to be investing in your own business. Period, point blank. You are never going to grow if you do not put money into your business.
What is something like where do your passion come from, right? Because like I said, one thing I admire is that you always on the go, right? But you are passionate because even me, I lost my passion in the clothing line. So then I had to tweak it because it's like I don't like, all right, for one, we live in LA. Downtown LA is where a lot of people go. I'm foreign attitude, so I don't even want to look like everybody else. So I lost the passion to go down there. So I do overseas. I draw and they cut and sew for me. I'm like, I want to tweak it to where it's like, hey, where you get that from? I want somebody to say where you get that from. Not, hey, you got that from? No, where you get that from?
Yeah.
Like, so where do you keep this fire? Because a lot of people go, everything is flows. Like the stock market, relationship, everything in life is ups and downs. Like it's highs, it's lows. Hopefully you're on a rise and it's higher highs and higher lows instead of lower highs and lower lows, right?
Yeah.
So where do you continue this passion? Because every time I see you, and I know, one thing I do know, that you have to turn on the switch, the character. And I'm going to talk about that in my other episode on how to step into your future self, right? But the passion that you have, and for somebody else could be like, dang, maybe that's what I need to tap into because I see it with you. And it's never though. Mind you, people who know you probably see the other side of you. But when I say you are on point, your brand is your brand, and I see it consistently, it's like, where do you find that at? Where do you agree?
Honestly, man. So I know that God gave me certain things that are different. I have to realize I have more energy. Like I'm around other people and I be like, dang, I'm like built a little different. I'm like, literally, man, I would say this because I just realized this like 3 days ago. I was like, I actually just have more energy than, you know what I mean? God, like I wake up at 4 a.m. You know what I mean?
Right,
And I
right.
get moving. You know what I mean? Like I'm walking in the morning. You know what I mean? I'm getting it, and
Right.
I'm thinking, I'm talking to God, and he's laying it out for me. Literally, you know what I mean? So I'm getting in a mindset. And the great thing about my life partner is she understands my rhythm.
Right,
Right?
right,
So
right.
if I get up and go and start walking, she don't, what's wrong? That's my rhythm because that's my flow.
That's how, yeah.
So I have to set up my own routines, number one. Right? Number two, I only do things that I am passionate about. Why do something that you don't give a damn about?
And I love how you stay on brand. Your brand is trusted. When they say a trusted brand, your brand is trusted.
You gotta be who you are, right? You gotta be who you are. So who am I? I'm a guy who came from nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean, I'll tell the story. Everybody, people who've heard me probably know this. So my mother had 5 kids by 4 different men before she was 25 years old. Okay. My mother was a victim of incest, her father. At age 16, my mother asked for $50 from my aunt. She was living in Madera, California with my grandfather, molesting her, and then came down to LA to be with her biological mother. And then I always tell people, if your first sexual partner was your father, you make some really bad decisions. So my mother made some bad decisions. So my brother passed away last year. He never saw his father entire life. Never saw him. My sister and I have the same father, but he didn't really come into our life until I was 11 years old. He used to come around, but then he would leave. I mean, when I say come around, he'd come and take me to Magic Mountain or something like that for a weekend. And then he'd say he'd be back the next weekend. It'd be 3 grades later, I would see him.
Right, right.
I mean, just being real, And then, when I was 11, he came into my life and he stayed until he passed away 12 years ago. So that was a blessing. And when I was older, he told me, he said, I was into some other stuff I didn't want you to be a part of. And once I knew my father, really knew him, I understood it because my dad was a really good dude.
Right.
And I understand that whatever he was into, that he was being protective because I understand his nature. That's who he would have been. And so I thank him for that now. But growing up, I didn't.
Right,
Get me?
right.
Now I'm gonna say something. So my dad. All right. So that's my dad. So then my mother. When I was growing up, I had 2 different last names because stuff. So the other guy who I had the last name of, he met my mother while she was pregnant with me, working as a stripper on Western.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get people to understand that's where I come from.
Right, right.
And then he was the only father who ever lived in my house. My father never lived with me, nothing like that. And then he left when I was about 3 or 4 to go spend the next 40-something years in the California Department of Corrections for murder.
Mm.
And then, and he's the father of the biological, my younger brother. But they lied and said that I was his son, and it's this whole thing that still goes on to this day. And then I have another brother who I don't even know because my mother hid the pregnancy because now you're 25 pregnant by the 4th man and everybody looking at you, calling you.
Right.
So she gave him up for adoption. I don't know. He could be your daddy, and I don't even know. So I grew up on a dirt road, and I'm not lying, in Fontana, California, with nothing, on welfare, 2-bedroom house. My mother slept on the couch. My brother sits outside in the bed, all this stuff. But my mother always said, to him which much is given, much is required. Now, I'm sitting up here like, we don't got nothing.
Right.
But my cousins was in trouble. Guess who they lived with? Us. My friends, they came, look, girls who got pregnant, they were too young because my mother, because of her experience, she brought people in. My mother then started educating herself off welfare. She started going to community college. And first off, she just took classes. She was just taking classes. People wonder why, Dr. Walker, you're this amazing scholar. Why you teach at a community college? Because my mama, that's how I got saved. Meaning my family. You know what I mean? So my mother, started going to community college, taking classes. Somebody told her, take 12 units in this one field, and you could be a respiratory technician. The people give breathing treatments at the hospital.
Okay.
Boom. We were about 11 when that happened, Next thing you know, it was about 2 or 3 years later, somebody told her, if you go on this 1-year program, 24 units, you become a respiratory therapist. So my mother did that. I was about 13 or whatever else. That got us off welfare. Next thing you know, when I went off to college in 1985, I drove down the 15 freeway. My car broke down, and my mother came and gave the only car that we had in our family. I had my own little car, a little Bug. I thought it was cool, a little cow-out Bug. And my mother had a 1976 baby blue Ford Pinto with a hatchback. And she brought that down on the McCall exit on the 15 freeway. And my mother gave me the car and said, you go off to college because somebody's got to make it. My older brother had flunked out of college. My sister had flunked out of college. And it was like, somebody's got to make it. And my mother took the bus 45 minutes every day, 45 miles every day to work at the hospital so that I could make sure that first semester I had a car, whatever. I mean, she could have just dropped me off, but she didn't. So when you ask about what's the motivation, that's part of the motivation. And then that same woman got a car and started going 138 miles every day to the College of the Desert at age 43 to become a registered nurse. And at 45, crossed the stage as a registered nurse, not as a CNA, not as an LVN, as a registered nurse, all the rest of that stuff from welfare, from molestation, from all the rest of this stuff. So when you start asking, where's the motivation? Come on, man. Man. And she never put it on us like, I did this, so you got to. It was just a lived experience. I always tell things about it. I talk a lot. I got to start do what I do. In my family, I don't talk a lot. Because I'm the middle child, and the way it goes is my sister is a very dominant personality. My brother was. So I didn't talk a lot. My mother is the same kind of person. So my mother I always use my mother as an example to say, you don't have to be loud to lead. She led by showing. Then next thing you know, my mother starts, she's got a real job now. She's an RN. She's doing her thing. So then my mother started this food program at our church. And for 14 straight years, every Thursday, my mother fed anybody who came into the house on her own dime. And she always made sure that you had real forks, real knives, real plates, and real glasses. Because she said, no matter what your condition, that doesn't mean people have to treat you like that. When she would cook, it wouldn't be some slop or whatever. She'd be like, we're having prime rib today. We're having this, we're having that. Because she remembered when she was there. You get me?
Right.
And then there was these kids, and they were coming to the feeding program every week. MJ, Matthew, and Faith. And they kept coming to the program. And I'm already grown at this point. Next thing you know, they're coming. My mother's realizing something's wrong. So she starts leaving an igloo of food for the rest of the week for these kids. Next thing you know, she's leaving a key to the church so they can get in. Next thing you know, my mother invited those people into our house, and they became my little sisters and brothers. After I'm all grown and everything else. And let me give you, one of them, MJ, teaches, he's the manager of Walmart. He graduated in culinary arts. The other one, Matthew, has a master's degree and teaches severely emotionally disturbed children in San Bernardino. And Faith, the sister, just finished her PhD and was named the outstanding educator in the Inland Empire. This is all from my mama.
It's crazy because
come on.
It's so big.
And I can't, you know what I mean?
It's like when you know your why and you got that North Star, it's like nothing can deter you from it. Like with that North Star, your why is like, I know why I'm here.
Yeah. So every day I'm seeing people like me, people like my mama, people like our neighbors, whatever else, and I'm continually pressing. Why? Because I'm always open to it. Most personal is the most universal. We don't always grow up the best.
We don't.
And we ain't always got everything. And sometimes you get jealous and mad because God or the world is somehow giving you this raw deal and you just making it. But I realized that this was all a plan. So this thing called the butterfly effect, Right, the butterfly effect is basically, if you're happy with who you are right now, don't disparage how you got here. The bridge that got you here. I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't broke when I was a kid.
Right.
I'd be different. I might be better, I may be worse, but I wouldn't be the same me. And I like the me that I am. I wouldn't be the same me if certain things didn't happen with my dad and whatever else. But let me please say, when my dad came back in my life, my dad came back in. Right. He was there forever. He never, he was there. And when you talk about your work ethic, my daddy was an ice cream man. Okay? I'm not, listen, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I wasn't embarrassed to say it because every kid wanted to hear it, right? But when I got older, I got embarrassed because I get a degree. I'm in all these things. These people saying their parents from Harvard and Yale and whatever else. And my daddy was an ice cream man. You get me?
Right.
But in the summer of 79, and my next movie coming out is called Summer of 79. This is my first narrative piece, which is about the summer I spent with my dad, summer of 1979. I was 12 years old, and they were like, you get to go stay with your dad this summer. And I was coming from the IE, and I had to come out here. My dad lived on 91st and Broadway, and my grandfather lived on 108th and Figueroa. And so I had to get acclimated to the whole LA thing. I had to learn all this stuff. And it was the most beautiful experience ever. You know what I mean? Learning and growing. But I was on that ice cream truck, and my dad and me had a system. I worked the back, he drove the truck. So at 12 years old, I'm on the streets There's 13 people out there ordering banana splits, sundaes, whatever else. I'm calculating the money. My dad trusted me. He knew I was smart. I've always been smart. I'm just going to tell you, I never had trouble in school in terms of academics. It was always, my brain worked like that. And God gives some people those gifts. So my dad was like, roll with it, Danny. My dad was going, roll with it. So if there was too many people, I'd say this word, tea time. He'd come to the back, he'd start cutting the bananas, but we had a whole system. Man, I could calculate these people's 2 times and just work it. And we worked from about 11 o'clock in the morning to about 1 o'clock at night. Our route was South Central, and we would enter Jordan Downs at about 11 o'clock at night and then work Jordan Downs from 11 to about 1. So here's this kid from the Inland Empire, Fontana,
Right.
being immersed in LA for real. You get where I'm coming from? I'm in Jordan Downs at midnight on Fridays and Saturdays selling ice cream to Shermans and just people kicking it and everything else. But it taught me so much about how to deal with people, how to talk to people, how to calculate,
lessons.
Oh my God, how to think on your feet, customer service. My dad had this thing. So they kids come up with an ice cream truck, it attracts people. And there's kids who can't get none because their parents don't have any money. My dad used to have these popsicles that had 2 sticks in them. And you break them in half. If there was a kid out there that didn't have, my dad always made sure I gave him something. He said he didn't want to see this kid walk away just because he didn't have 25 cents or whatever else and watch everybody else do it. So I could break these little things in half, and that's what they were there for. So my dad taught me to always look out for people. Always. That's why I said he's a good dude. He was a really good dude.
I love the less, because even I teach my daughter now about entrepreneurship, about banks, about business, about money. Like, I'm teaching her now because everything that I said, dang, I wish I would have known that. I'm teaching her now. I don't ever want to hear, dang, I wish I would have known it. Dang, I wish I would have known credit. Like, never.
Yeah.
So the lessons in that, like, I appreciate that so much. Like, for you to learn them lessons at that age. And when you fast forward, you're like, dang, I've been doing this for a while now.
Dude, I didn't even realize it until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, where do you get your work? I was like, my daddy. He used to get up and do that thing. And man, I would have to. My dad gave me all the autonomy. It'd be like, here's the supply list. After a few weeks, he's like, you fill it out, Danny. So I go in there, fill it out. I get the card, boom, load up the truck and everything else. I mean, it was autonomous. By the time I was 13, I was really running things. You know what I mean? My dad, and I know he felt so good to have his son right there with him and working it out. But I learned so much. I learned from him. My dad's not like me. My dad is much more mild-mannered. Really mellow. Like, I wish at times I had his mellow spirit about some things because, like, he never whipped me. You know? You know, I mean, he did one time and I was acting an ass. He should have whipped me. I would have whipped my little ass on that one. And then he apologized afterwards. I mean, he felt so bad. You know what I mean? But he was working it. You know what I mean? I was watching him show how to deal with people, how to treat people, how to talk to people. I remember watching my dad talk people out of robbing us. No, it's the ice cream truck in the middle of the night. Come on. We're in Watts, Compton, South Central. Somebody, you don't think we didn't get robbed a bunch of times? My dad was shot 6 times, once stabbed another time. All right? So, you know, I could watch him talk. We could have $500, $600 on the truck. And I'd hear my dad talk to these people, and he'd be like, it's a hard day, man. We've been out here struggling too. You know what I mean? He had this whole thing. And he would start working, and next thing you know, the people be almost like, damn, man, I want to.
They pull out some money for y'all.
He'll say something like, Daddy, get this man some ice cream. You know what I mean? I remember once this dude tried to rob us with a machete that I swear he must have found like in the dirt somewhere that had rust and dirt on. Like, he just like a homeless person. My dad talked his way through that. I remember my dad was stabbed, and I was on the truck. And my dad didn't tell me. And we rolled up to Martin Luther King, Killer King Hospital, the emergency room, and my dad walked in and went like this. He didn't want to get me freaked out.
Right.
He didn't want me to think that something was going on. I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
It's what we go through from what people see. You feel me? The finished product that people see instead of what we put into it is crazy, man.
Yeah. So I gotta hustle. I gotta keep moving. But I gotta do it a different way. He and she paid for these educations, pushed me and everything else so that I wouldn't be just on the ice cream truck. I'd be on Incarnation.
Right.
you get me?
All right. So I got like this one last thing I want to touch on, right? Because I'm about to start a Big Brother program, right?
Yes.
I'm about to start a Big Brother program from 9 to 13.
Yes.
And we're going to do it like we're a fraternity. Like, because I do the clothing line. So we're going to have the Letterman jackets, cardigan. I already got the logo, the the crescent. We got a crescent, like it's dope, right? But you, like how you just said, you and your sister, y'all just got the $5 million check. But also, you told me that one time that you was trying to start a charter school. And you did the curriculums, all that. Can you just touch on that? Because you see a lot of people. You see Dr. Umar want to school. I see a lot of social media present figures talk about getting to school, but I know someone who actually attempted to do it.
Not just attempted, who did it. Also, it's Hardy Brown College Prep in San Bernardino,
Oh,
California.
you got it?
Oh, dude.
Oh,
so
wow.
Hardy Brown College Prep. So there's two different. You were when I was talking to you, it was about LA School of Arts and
Yes,
Entertainment.
yes,
So,
yes.
but it fed off of because we had started. So a group of people: Paulette Brown Hines, Joette, Margaret Fortune, who runs the Fortune School of Education. My sister, about 10 years ago, Margaret Fortune, whose father used to be the superintendent of Inglewood and Elk Grove. She's a really important, powerful sister. And she came down to the IE and they had started a school in Sacramento. And she was like, maybe we could do it here. And then I told her, I said, look, I don't go to the meetings. I don't do all this stuff. I said, I don't want to deal with people when they really want to do something. So call me when you really want to do something. A year later, she's like, let's do this. So we took a year and a half of community organizing, getting everybody in, writing the plan, everything else, got the school approved. And then the school started working. And now it's the highest performing K-8 school in all of San Bernardino County. Not just Black, not just Latino. And the third year of its existence, its third graders outperformed LA and Orange County in terms of math and English proficiency. I'm being real. You know what I mean? But I got to give that to Margaret Fortune. She's serious. This sister, she's from the Bay. She does not play about education. That's what she does. She now has about 14 schools. You know, and she's always on it. She's a bad. She's together. So I don't take credit. She is the one with the thing. But then she understood connecting with a community, and then we became those people. So after the success of that, I then took on this opportunity for this thing called the Believe Foundation to try to create the LA School of Arts and Entertainment. And honestly, that's how the film festival got here.
I remember you was telling me that.
So just quick story. We were creating it. His name is Greg Smith. He runs a thing called the Believe Foundation, also a B-Ballers Hoop Academy. All right, so give it up. He's another person who always gets it in. He's also a drummer, all the rest of the stuff. So anyway, Gregory had this idea. His dad, who was the pastor of the church I was going to at the time, told him, well, Dr. Walker has done these schools before, so why don't you connect with him? And then me and Greg have become best friends since then. We were just great. But he had this idea. So we coalesced all these folk in Hollywood in the entertainment industry, everything from film, television, ceramic arts, visual, all that, and put together a team, created an amazing curriculum, got the top experts in everything you could imagine, ESL, everything else to be a part of it. It was going to be in Inglewood, and the whole notion is, you got Hollywood right there. It was going to be great. And I don't have any problem saying this. And then so, charter schools have to be approved by the local school district.
Right.
Inglewood was corrupt. I'm going to say it right now. It was corrupt. So we go in. We're supposed to get our charter school. We had all the celebrities there, everything else. And they used to have this practice of making their meetings go really, really long so they could do shenanigans at like 1 a.m. and everybody being gone. I'm saying this because the state of California has called them out on this stuff, and you'll see in a sec. So anyway, we get to the thing, and we're supposed to be doing a presentation for this charter school. We got all this stuff in Hollywood, everything there. I start reading through the minutes. And I'm just reading through the minutes. And I'm realizing they had already denied us in closed session. It was totally a violation of state law, everything.
Wow.
It was everything. And they were waiting us out, and they took all these pictures of these stars and stuff. And then afterwards, the members of the school board wanted to talk to us and all that stuff. And I'm like, you just jacked us. You know what I mean? You just jacked us. And I remember they went to vote, and they were like, charter school, no. Boom. And then it just went on. I was so mad. I was so incensed. I was so mad. I worked 2 years. It's the hardest I ever worked on something. And for 4 or 5 people to be able to say, it's over. Like, just like that. I couldn't believe it. How could you work that hard for something and somebody just say no? And they were corrupt. And I'm saying corrupt. 3 weeks later, the state of California took over the district because of it being corrupt. Malfeasance, misappropriation funds, all the rest of that stuff. So what I'm saying is part of the public record. You get me?
Right.
I just hitched my ride with the wrong thing. I thought that purpose would work. But I told myself after that, I said, I will never give anybody that much power over my dreams. Never, ever, ever will I give anybody to where I could work that hard and some one person can say no and it's over. Hell no. That's when I started the Long Beach. That's when I started Long Beach Indie. I took the same people from the school and said, I'm going to create this film festival, and I want you to do a workshop on this, and you to do it, and that's how that came out.
That is so dope, man.
That was falling up. you know, but I was motivated because I could not believe it that I worked that hard on something and just no, and they were just laughing. Like,
It's a crazy game.
you know, so that's important. And I just want to throw that out there that you're gonna have shots in the gut. But the question is, what do you do? So me sit there and whine and cry, I could have done that, but I was worried. No, what was it? Let's go. And now it's going.
It's
you know?
going.
So the school stuff, I can help you with. There's something that you want to do. It is a hard thing. It's getting harder in the state of California.
I'm not gonna do the school. We just gonna do like a after school
Oh, my
program. Like the weekend, we are doing meetings. We're doing like little classes in park recreational centers.
yeah.
We're doing field trips. Like
But let me say this to you. Sorry, stop saying little. Okay? We do
Right,
that to
you're
ourselves.
right,
I'm
you're
having
right.
this little thing over here. No, you're having a boom, 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 boom. Because we can use words that then take away from our own stuff. No, you have a youth program, a Big Brothers program that you're creating where the
Right,
people are going
right.
to do X, Y, and Z. Own that. Because they're going to see you. And if you say it ain't nothing or
you're right.
little,
You're right. Because I correct people and say the same thing too.
yeah.
But I just want you to know we about to close.
Yes,
But
yes.
I want you to know that when I went to that event with you and you were speaking, and I took Where's My Pretty, the books, and was selling them. And I got in contact with a few people who was supposed to read in Riverside School District. But it didn't happen because my schedule conflicted, but it motivated me, and I read in 3 schools out here because of friends and family like that, new connections. And it was because of you. Like, I had the book, but I never thought to, hey, go to some schools and read inside of it. And it's just crazy, man. I just want to say I thank you for that. I appreciate you. You got any last remarks you want people to know what's next for you, what's coming up, and also where to reach you?
Well, a few things. Number one, I want you to know, dude, the things that you do have huge amounts of value. Okay. One of the problems I used to have with myself was that I would leave something before it was done,
Mm,
put everything into it, get it to a certain place, and I jump to something else. And then that's undone. You get me?
right.
Because the pursuit is what? From nothing to something.
It's my same problem.
I'm saying because I see it. And dude, you got everything you need. Don't create another thing. Spend all your money amplifying what you got. Because you got so much good stuff from your fashion line, from that book. That book should be in every single, not just African American. That's a book about people finding their beauty in themselves.
Right.
You know, but even if it was every African American, that's 4 million households need to have it. You know, it's that good. And you guys, I'm not just saying this. This thing is really, really good. It's
I
great.
appreciate that.
Everything about it. So the games, they're great. All you need, man, is just to stay in there. You need finances and you need an opportunity, distribution.
Right.
That's what you need. You don't need another product. Now you can create them because you're really good at doing that. So you can show, but you got an act 2 and an act 3 and an act 4 and an act 5. So I'm going to make a commitment to you, and you'll see, we'll talk about it after, but we're going to make sure that this happens. I've been looking, who am I? It's you. God is funny because he's like, oh, I'm trying to, it's you. It's you. All right. So we're going to do this. It's you. So that's a whole other thing. It's you. So, but anything that I could add to somebody is one, you got to be, when you talk about the closed hand and open, a good friend of mine, K. Ron Valentine, somebody should look him up. He wrote the book Beyond the Crack Epidemic. He consults all over America, USC School, everything else. He was a brother working at for the Department of Corrections for the county in LA.
Okay.
And he had been a school teacher. He graduated from San Diego State University. He's an artist. He's a rapper, everything. You know, I used to always support him. Then he got hurt at his job, and he said, Dr. Walker, he said, I'm about to do something. I was like, what? He said, I got this whole curriculum in my head about dealing with young people going through different stuff and whatever else and being in juvenile hall, all this stuff. And so he got 6 months off because of this injury. This dude wrote this whole book called Live Above the Hype, wrote a whole curriculum for the thing, produced the videos for it, so he was an artist, got Michael Eric Dyson to do the forward for it,
Wow.
did all this stuff, and then pushed it out there. This dude has contracts with the Baltimore City Schools. He just I think he's on contract now to always at SC for their social work, all this stuff. But this was a dude just pushing.
Right.
Just pushing, like, what is it? And then he found his lane. And I remember he used to always try to be a rapper. He wanted to be this, wanted to be this. You know, he was really influenced. He liked Mac 10, you know what I mean? And I remember he used to be, the name's Mac 10 or WC or whatever. I said, no, you didn't need to become the next Mac 10. You had to become the first K. Ron Valentine. You were the first Sir Warmly. That's all there is to it.
Right.
So everything that you have created is already a part of your legacy. All you need to do is amplify. You just need distribution and money. And it can go either way. Distribution come without money, money come without distribution. But that's what you need. So I'm going to facilitate making sure that we are when I'm talking to these different people, I'm always telling other folk I need to know who you are, because when I connect things, I need to have somebody for stuff to go to, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't do any good to tell people give money, invest with black fund managers, and you don't know nothing.
Right.
You're one of them. You're one of the most special people that I've met in the past 10 years. And everything that you do is going to be blessed, is already blessed. But I'm going to make a commitment right here. When we come back here a year from now, I will have invested at least $25,000 in you. At least. And probably more than that. I'm making that commitment to you right now. Cash flow just at the end of this month. But I'm making a commitment to you.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for between now, over the next 12 months, I will invest at least $25,000 in you. I'm making that commitment to you right now. It will start in January of 2023, and we will go from there. So we can work on some stuff. You can tell me what you thinking about, what you kind of know, whatever else. Line it out. Give me a plan on where you want to go with it. And you're like, hey, Doc, if I had $6,000 more with this, I could have bought 100 more of these games.
And we sold out of these, by the way. We about to restock.
Yeah.
But we had a game night.
So that kind of thing.
We got to talk.
You got to be at the right festivals. You got to be at the right entrepreneurship. You got to get your minority and women-owned business certification. All those other kind of things so that you can be able to deal with these other folk. All that. This is a personal commitment to you. I've already been there for you in your life, but I'm going even further in terms of this, because I know this is where God is leading, and this is serendipitous. This is God working right now. It's not even so. Yeah, if there's anything I can do, that's what I'm making. And anybody who's watching, whatever else, so a year from now, whatever date today is, October 3rd, a year from now, ask Sir, be like, did Dr. Walker invest at least $25,000 in you over the course of that year? If I did not, you go and call me out, okay?
I'm here for it. Please, please let them know where to find you, because you got a lot in the works and they can follow your journey as well. Yeah,
on everything, I'm Dr. Daniel Walker on Instagram, Dr. Daniel Walker on Facebook, Dr. Daniel Walker on LinkedIn, everything Dr. Daniel E. Walker. That's it. And my website for the arts stuff, it's drwalkerarts.com. So that's my portfolio. You'll see everything about the festivals, about everything else there. And then my general one about speaking and everything else is drdanielwalker.com, which is everything about speaking. But Long Beach Indie, the film festival, is going to be September of 2023. Our career and technical education piece around arts, media, and entertainment is going to be April at the W Hotel and Universal Studios, April 2023. I'm just throwing those out. The film will be finished in the next 6 months, and then it'll be about, we're going for we're putting it, Tribeca, Cannes, Toronto International. We're going for it. You know what I mean? Going for it. And we even have the plan on the film. It's like, I'm going for Oscar, and I've figured out there's all these rules. So you have to do a bunch of things just to even be qualified. So even in making of this film, it's everything I'm checking the boxes. Just because you can make a film at the end, turn around, you're like, this is a great film. You're like, no, you didn't do such and such, and that's what you need to be qualified for an Oscar. Everything that wins an Oscar ain't the best film. It just means people who took care of the criteria, and there's a schedule that you got to check off. So, but that's where we're going. So it's Long Beach Indie, these institutes I'm doing around film, entrepreneurship, and all that stuff. And it is going hard in the paint on this new film. And I got an urban animated sitcom that just finished in terms of pre-development. It's all perfect now and everything else. And so starting this week is pitch time. So for the next 3 or 4 months, pray for the Pitching Brothers. Because pitching, you can create all you want. You can have all that, but if you don't get somebody to pick up and you don't get the nerve to pitch, it ain't gonna happen. So pray for me to get up every morning and my team with the courage and stay with it about pitching. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, and I'm here. When I think of you, I get pride, man. I really fill up with pride. I just appreciate you. I appreciate y'all for y'all time and y'all mind. And this is another episode at Expert at Failing.
Yes!